And on these Tuesdays, as we gather, we ask you to illuminate our minds that we may know you even more, know the 40 days that our Lord spent on our behalf. Be with us now. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
So, it's nice to see you. What I'd like to do, we're going to meet for 6 weeks. How many of you went to stations? How did that go?
Well, she did good.
She done good?
Forever.
And who is somebody different going to do it each week?
If I can get people to do it.
Okay. And traditionally, somebody else reads the little explanations, right?
Yeah, we did kind of all to
Okay.
part.
Fair enough.
Is that him?
Yeah.
So, Stations of the Cross, then food. I mean, the food was wonderful.
Oh, well,
Thank you, Bonnie, Connie, and Barb.
I put their names together.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you did.
Thank you for the grub. Is somebody different going to do it each week? Is that the idea?
Yep,
to lead it, yeah.
Yeah.
Shirley and me next week.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
Okay.
good. You already planned that?
And then we're going to talk. Now, I mean, you've probably done this in other seasons of Lent, but one of the traditions is to have a book that you read during Lent. And I like this little one very much. My thought is that we'll take 2 weeks for there's 3 sections, and we'll take 2 weeks on each section. So some of you don't have the books yet. I know they're coming.
I have 4 coming. I don't know where they are at this point.
It's very easy reading. Like for example, tonight it's only up to page 10. So tonight is to page 10. Next week is to page 20. 3 sections. One is the first section is on Christ. The second section is the church. The third section is ministry. And it's really just to get us thinking, to have a chance to share. We don't get to do this too much. Ray has a Bible class once a week for some folks, and that's a place where folks get to talk, but we don't get to do that very much. So this isn't school. There's no right or wrong answers. I just like the idea of sharing, and something that's brought up stimulates somebody to share something else. Or, for example, as we go on, during the week, you may find an article somewhere, or you may see something on TV that you want to bring next week that relates, and let's all do that. So my first question is, which I've always asked whenever I do groups, is to check in on how you are. How's your life? And it's important because otherwise we don't know where we are, where each of us is, and it helps you understand why we think the way we do about things. So you don't have to say anything, but I invite you to share with us how things are for you personally. Anybody?
Well, I've got a new toy and I'm enjoying it. And you'll see it when you get the newsletter.
Tomorrow at staff meeting, I'm going to give out the priest notes, and then it goes out. But Brother Ray made the front page of the priest notes this week.
I now no longer have to drive the car out of the garage or down the hill, back up, put the car back in the garage. I get on my little electric scooter and then I put it on slow turtle, and then I put it on rabbit, and down I go to the middle.
And it looks awesome.
Somebody's gonna get that on video.
Well,
They turn over.
you'll see the front page tomorrow. There's pictures of him on this scooter.
Awesome.
Good for you.
And I think Jan wants to get one of those things too. So
But
she may
mine
be
will just be a chair. It won't be a.
I thought you said it was going to be battery operated.
It is
It'll be a chair. It'll be a wheelchair type thing.
wheelchair type.
With batteries.
Well, she's in the market, so if you see one somewhere,
See one cheap.
yeah.
I'm getting a scooter too, but I'm gonna be like this. This foot up, that foot down.
Does it have a motor?
No, it's a scooter with,
Well, I mean, some have motors, I think.
No.
Is this a recumbent bike or what?
no, it's when I have foot surgery.
Gonna have her foot up on one.
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
A
yeah.
knee
The knee,
scooter.
the
That's-
knee scooter, thank you.
What are you having done?
Oh, they're gonna remove a whole bunch of stuff that keeps growing back.
Big bad stuff.
No, we did that on this one. Now it's this one's turn.
Oh.
It's all
Anybody,
good. It's all
anybody
good.
else want to check in on how they are?
Busy, if I may speak. There are so many things going on in my life right now that I don't know if I'm coming or going. A lot of things that we're nervous about, a lot of things that need to be done before I can get back to a normal life.
Is there a normal
With my
life?
daughters and their house. We're not done there yet. I still need to drive an hour and a half each way to get to her house, to help her, to do stuff. Got Meals on Wheels. I got work. I got mama. And so I just am so busy. It's a busy, busy time right now.
How long will it be till you get the girl's house taken care of?
It's taken us a long time. Every time we tear something out, we find something else that has to be done. She
How old
took
is
her
the
dog,
house?
28 years now. They took the dogs to the house for the first time, a week or so ago. And they put her out on her chain. First thing she did is crawl underneath the house. My daughter had to get down on her hands and knees, and you know how big Beth is. And
Oh.
crawl under that house with all the wires hanging there.
Mm.
So now we got another job to close that up so the dog can't get in there. And the chain hooks on the steps of the porch. So I've got to put down some carpet across it so that the chain will come into the house without getting hooked. Or they got to go up and get it. But anyway,
Well, I hope you
So,
don't
I'm
go there
busy.
every day of the week. dude.
I don't try not to. I got to go Tuesday to Meals on Wheels and Thursday to work. So those 2 days I don't. No, it's better. We have a lot of stuff done now, but there's still plenty of stuff to do.
Jerry, is there anything that the rest of us can do to alleviate some of
That's a
your work?
great question.
It's a good question,
That's
but
a great question.
unless you can lay flooring,
Not my bag, but
nobody's got any knees. So
that's
neither
right.
Beth and I, we've tried. And for now, we're gonna let it go because we just can't, I can't get down.
Can't get down on
that
your
knee.
knees, yeah.
And
Scooter, you need a scooter. A scooter.
but she can live without that. But we still have a few things to finish up. We got one bathroom done, almost done. One bathroom's almost done except for a shelf and a couple of pieces more of siding. But it's been a busy, busy couple of months.
You're a good daddy.
Very.
But we,
That's a nice thing to say. Did you hear that?
yes, I heard. And I appreciate it.
Well,
I
Jerry,
know they know it.
Jerry, when it comes to taking care of Mama, let us know what we can do.
They're
Please.
now gonna have surgery on her neck.
Yeah.
They found that
I
they got permission.
surgery on the 8th,
Wednesday the 8th.
March 8th.
Keep her on her prayers. Doctor said there's only a 2% chance of another stroke from the operation. Otherwise, it's 50-50 if she don't get it done.
Well, you
So
gotta do it.
she's gonna have to do it. And she
Outpatient,
seems
right?
ready to do it, but.
Isn't it outpatient?
No,
No.
they said it was outpatient, but they're gonna keep me overnight to check.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad.
And where's it gonna be?
It's gonna be in Ocala.
At a veterinarian's clinic?
Yeah. That's the
Oh my
one.
gosh, I was thinking the same thing, being a smart aleck.
Yeah, really,
I've
I'm
been
sorry.
around you too long.
Yeah.
I have to call back because she gave me something. She gave it to me fast and I didn't
Yeah.
get it all, but it's in the catalog. It's on First Street. And it's across the street from the doctor's.
Okay.
So,
Can your daughters help you decipher the instructions?
oh,
Your daughters?
I can call back.
Yeah, okay. Right.
But you know, I keep telling her, she looks wonderful. She looks more rested, less stressful for a long
Well,
time.
she's got me.
Jerry.
I can't think of something fast enough to say. How does his head get in the door?
I don't
I
know.
have trouble.
Well, I had a nice experience Saturday. My two daughters, one from DeLand and one from Beverly Hills, came over, brought a lot of groceries, and I've got toilet paper set in the middle of the big tub now. I haven't got any place to put it. And they did some housework for me. And then we went out to eat at McRae's down there in Homosassa. And my one daughter from DeLand did not know that part of Florida was still around. She said, Mom, you never said anything. And I never saw so many people in all my life was eating out there Saturday. And then across the river at Crumbs, they were just as busy. But the Pelicans put on a good show for us. It was wonderful.
Good. I'm glad they helped you with
Is
your house.
Monkey Island
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, they just
They got air
refurbished it.
conditioning now.
That was on TV the other day advertising.
But now McRae's down the other end, and you don't even get close to Monkey Island. You can see the castle, the red and white castle, but that's all you can see.
He's got a new air conditioning for them.
Yeah, I know, they got new bunks and everything.
The monkeys have air conditioning.
Oh, these monkeys are
Yeah.
just like this, they're big ones. The ones out there.
Are these real?
Yes, oh,
What's
yes.
in there? Oh,
Oh,
my.
you,
It's a restaurant?
Yeah.
Where
We'll
monkeys
take
live?
Monkey
We'll
Island
take
is in the middle of the river.
it's a beautiful place out
Oh,
there.
my
The
God.
Homosassa River.
I see.
Yeah, go by boat. Go
It's
by
still
boat.
built
Did
up
it
though.
remind you of church? Sorry. Yeah, we'll have to go there sometime.
Yes, we'll take it.
Anybody else want to share? These folks came to surprise me and they came to my house. They just showed up the other day and knocked on the door. And I liked that. That was really nice.
At least you showed up and visited. I just showed up to use the facilities.
Yeah. That was the difference. They showed up to visit with me. Barbara shows up to use my bathroom. So it's a strange thing.
It was in the air.
Yeah. So,
But we couldn't stay.
no, well, it's Friday. I have patients in the afternoon, so, but it was all right. So it is Lent, and you know, I have fans and I have detractors. Some of my, I guess their detractors said that the sermons are too heavy, that we need to lighten up. But I keep saying, but it's Lent. So, but anyway, I'm going to try to lighten things up. I have to go back to jokes or something. I don't know what to do. Somebody-
Anything right, Father?
I know. Somebody, I read an article called Easter in Lent. So that's a good concept. But nevertheless, it is a time to think. You know, the Episcopal Church, they used to call it the thinking man's church, which I always liked, because it is not just you're told what to think and feel and what to do, but you know, God gave us a mind too, and to expand our mind. And so Lent can be that time too. You know, we all know the story by now. And yet each time, like Stations of the Cross, when you do it, it's a very powerful ritual. In fact, a few weeks ago, we were in Jerusalem walking the Via Dolorosa, the actual steps. So I like this little book. And the title is The Three Conversions of the Christian Life. And I think some of you know this guy, Lewis, right?
Yeah,
Robert
he was
Lewis.
at our church. When I came, he was a deacon.
Isn't
He
that
was
weird?
he was a seminarian.
Oh, seminarian,
He
yeah,
was a
Isn't that
seminarian.
weird that I should pick this book and here?
with Father Tom Razor, yeah. And then he went off to, I guess.
Well, he went to Advent.
Well, he had
he
to
was
become a priest, so he went to, what
He was a priest at Advent for a
but that's
while.
when he got trained and came back.
Now he's in Arizona.
I
Well,
interviewed
before
him
that, he
overnight
went to
Is
Nebraska.
that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
When I was on mission on minutes
Yeah, he went to Nebraska first, and then now he's in
over
Arizona.
there at Advent.
he's bucking for Bishop,
Bishop.
Oh, he's the one?
yeah.
Ah, well.
Yes, I remember that.
Remember him?
Yes, I
Skinny,
Yes.
skinny guy.
And his wife was
Yeah, they're divorced, I heard, they're
Not
divorced.
skinny.
They're divorced.
Right. a bit rotund.
They're just divorced.
Oh, I remember because ECW supported him.
Oh, yeah.
Every month we gave towards,
Wow.
We put him through whatever he ended up being.
yes, I do it. Robert, yes.
So he's single. I don't know anything about his sex life. All I heard was he's divorced. Well, I just took the wife that you saw.
Right, yeah. Because I remember him before he was even married.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I remember.
Well, we want all the dirt.
Yeah.
Even though it's Lent, tell us the dirt.
I don't remember any dirt, except I just remember ECW supporting him and,
Right.
when he was a boy, I mean, teenager.
That's about all he was when he came here.
Right. And I remember
Amazing.
being ordained.
So it's kind of meant to be. So this book, which, anybody have reactions to it? Anybody like it, dislike it?
I've gotten through the first 12 pages.
Huh?
I've gotten through the first 12
Well, we only
pages.
needed to do 10 for today, so. So Train, there's gonna be a quiz tonight before you leave.
She hasn't had a chance.
Just kidding, I'm just kidding.
I just learning. I
Yeah.
don't know anything.
There's a quiz? What?
Yeah.
I look at that, it's difficult, the question.
Yeah, I don't like the question.
I have a
I'm
request.
surprised they have it divided into 3 different conversions. Because I would have just gone with one.
That was what surprised, you know.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I was just gonna say, I don't feel that I was in that order.
Why wasn't?
I think my conversion was church first,
Me too.
and then Christ.
Well, that's the thing about Christianity, right? It's a dynamic religion. It's not stagnant. It's constantly evolving and moving and alive. So, like everything else in life, not everything goes in the sequence that you would expect.
Well, probably because when I was brought up in a, what do you call it?
Evangelical,
Well, it wasn't evangelical, but
Pentecostal,
no, not even that. It was just, anyway, it
dull.
was a believer's baptism. And so, but I went to church from the time I was this up,
Is that right?
and that's what I knew. But it wasn't until I was get to be 11 and 12 when I went through the classes that I became baptized and became a part of Christ. So to me, I knew the church before I knew Christ.
But I would say even some people, like the people that come to our food pantry, they're recipients of ministry first, and then maybe out of that, they'll come to church and then come to know Christ. But I think of, when you think of conversion, if you want to talk about TV ministry, I think of Billy Graham. I mean, his technique was the altar call, to convert yourself, if you will. There was another person. Oh, and the whole born again movement. Again, that's a conversion, it seems to me. And of course, for the rest of us, baptism is certainly the moment of conversion. I think of you because
For
I
me,
thought,
I'm big one. I'm changed from Buddha to
look at that, she was
Christian,
Buddhist and became, that's
6
even
years
more
ago.
major.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
How many?
6 years ago. I become
Only 6 years
Yeah.
ago? 6 years ago. Where were you baptized?
here. That's my church.
In the church, in the service,
Yes,
who was the priest? Father Jim?
Father Jim.
Jim.
Everybody, my goodness.
There must be pictures and stuff
Well,
somewhere.
was it during a service? Because I remember it.
They had a special day and one Sunday come in,
You did a special.
but then they had other people with
Yeah, you weren't alone. Yeah.
not by myself. Some other people, different region, convert to.
I forget what.
I don't remember. But did Father Jim coach you and do a lot of training and help you
Different things to wait.
through the process? Yeah.
So what about now, you have a very interesting story then, Train. I mean, for you, did it feel like a conversion, to a whole different way of thinking?
Yeah.
Because Buddhism is also very organized and has a theology.
It's a big difference. Very big difference. But I'm more happier.
Look at that. Good for you. Well, we're happy that you're here.
Tell them your experience. Tell them your experience. You were Catholic.
I was Catholic.
What happened?
I met you.
So you were forced into.
That's a fruit. Tell them what happened in the bar. You were doing
You met her at a bar? Is that what you said?
He was doing catechism, and what happened? The priest came.
What, you mean when my father left it?
Yeah.
We were a retirement farmer, basically. And the priest came to our barn and told my father that they were living in sin. That I was illegitimate and blah, blah, because,
They were married in the rectory and not the church. His mother was Russian, his father was Roman. And they were married in the rectory in New Jersey. The priest upstate New York said, they're not legally married in the eyes of the church.
Oh, my God.
The children are illegitimate. And then tell what happened.
I've never seen my father get upset, but they literally physically picked up the priest and threw him out.
Oh!
I bothered him, you thought.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Well, upstate New York is even more conservative than other places.
That's right.
I came from there too.
So
That's a
then,
stunning story.
so then, on his own, he decided he went to Reverend Hanson
That's right.
Church.
And I was gonna change, I was changing. I asked my mother, Mom, do you think you don't care if I change? She says, I don't care what you go to, as long as you believe in God. That's what my mother said. That sticks up here like it was yesterday.
That's wonderful. That was a very motherly thing to say.
Yes, yes.
So you went to see a reverend though?
We were met in high school, and I asked him to go to church with me, and he did, but then when he was in college, he decided totally on his own. He just said one Sunday, would you come to church? I'm being confirmed, and I was
Whoa.
shocked.
Now, it confirmed in what?
The Episcopal
Oh,
Church.
really? Where was this?
Near Norwich, upstate. New
Oh,
York.
really?
Yeah.
Where? Norwich?
It would be Gilbertsville, no, south of Berlin. It
Oh,
was south of Berlin Church, St. Nicholas. To go along with that story, my mother, parents ran a hotel. And the only church in town was a Baptist church. And they were not allowed in the church because they ran a hotel and served liquor. And so my grandparents were responsible for starting an Episcopal church because they invited the local people to meet in the hotel on Sunday because they were closed. And so a group started meeting and they wanted a church. And that's how there were about 24. I have my mother's baptism and confirmation. They're all within weeks of each other. Because once they started the church, they brought them in. So when I came along, I definitely had to be a member of the Episcopal Church. But every Sunday I went to the Baptist church also, because my grandparents were Baptist. And to make them happy and make my father happy, who was Baptist. 9 o'clock, we went to the Episcopal church, and 11 o'clock, my brother and I would go to the Baptist church.
Was this part of the Diocese of Albany?
Syracuse
The
Diocese.
Diocese of Syracuse.
So,
That's an incredible story.
there
And
you
here you are today.
go. 60 years later, we're
60
here.
years later, we've been married 60 years.
How's the
Wow.
priest that your dad threw out?
Yeah.
I don't even
It's still there.
remember
Well,
what
I
happened.
remember, you don't usually say that often.
When you started that story, I was thinking pitchforks
Ah.
in a barn, you know?
And so didn't you guys just go on your honeymoon?
We just went on our honeymoon 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we took the cruise because I was in the army when we got married, and they said, you can't, a Cuban crisis, you can't go home and get married. Then they finally convinced them, they'll go up there, you got 3 days, get married and bring your wife back. And so we didn't have no honeymoon until we just did it the other day.
Yeah, it's 60 years.
Yeah, 60 years it took us to go on a honeymoon.
Sure.
Wow.
See, there's still hope.
Well,
No.
there's for me. I didn't get one either.
You should renew your wedding vows. We should do that in
You
church.
know, Father Tom used to do that.
We did it.
We did it here. We did it here.
When Father Tom was here, I remember we did it for our 40th, so that's 20 years ago.
You want to do it sometime?
It's time.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
You just went on your honeymoon? I mean, it took you 60 years to consummate the marriage?
Well, tell the children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just came down from heaven.
Yeah. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? On the cruise.
Oh, we went to Cozumel and Belize and the
That's
Bahamas and
wonderful.
But Belize is, boy, that's a poor,
country.
it's just terrible the way some are living there.
But they say Belize is the ideal place in the world to live. That was so popular 15, 20 years ago.
And there's a lot of poor parts still. Because our daughter, Andrea, well, I don't know if you met her.
Yeah, she.
Through a church in Albany, they put together money to go help this family in Belize. There was 12 in the family, they were all living in boxes. So she helped,
They helped build a house
and that was,
and bought them furniture. They didn't even have furniture. They had a table and chairs, so they all had a chair to sit in and a table to sit at for the first time
Miraculous, huh?
And this is Belize,
in
Belize.
Belize.
and this is where everyone goes to this island.
I know that, yeah,
Well, that's
But
because
that's
it's
where
very inexpensive.
Yeah,
yeah,
Uh,
that's true,
People go there for the winter because you can have a house person for like
yeah.
$100 or less.
Yeah.
You can live on $1,000.
So, but if I went back, I would want to go help somebody. I mean, I just can't believe how,
But yet you go to the West Coast and that is the those are, they call it Little America. And it's, you know, it's thriving, but
right?
yet the rest of the island is starving, but
Right.
it's full metropolis.
yeah, that's probably what you hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you hear, that's what you hear about, yeah.
But you know, I'm moved by your story that your mother, in essence, started an Episcopal church.
Her parents, she was a little girl when they started it, but
So you need to help us grow up this one. Whatever lessons she taught you, let's bring them here.
Mhm.
Well, okay. You know, it seems to me to be converted, it either happens like St. Paul on the Damascus Road in a flash, or it happens gradually over a lifetime. And I'm just interested if, is anybody here had, would either, any of you claim either of those processes, either boom or more gradual? Anybody speak to that?
I've been more gradual. I was baptized, as a baby. but then I grew up in the Lutheran church, and as I told you before, I did everything, everything there at one point or another. But yeah, it came gradually for me. It was church first, though,
Yeah. I think
like you
that's,
said.
Well, sorry.
I was baptized a Lutheran as a baby, brought up in the Reformed Church in America, went through confirmation and catechism there, and that was fine. Then Billy Graham was having those big rallies in New York City. Well, I think that's when I actually accepted Jesus as my Savior.
is that
You
so?
went to one of his rallies? There's something about the power of ritual. That's like I say, renewing your vows. There's something about a ritual. Just like I thought you at your own baptism in the river, I thought that my assumption was that you were quite overcome by that
Yeah,
and
I was.
changed.
I was. Well, when church came first for me, we had a Florida Baptist convention church down the street that Mom went to. And that's when I went. And then I joined what they called it's the GSA. It's a girls, their version of the girls club.
Mhm.
And we went to go see the Passion Play in Lake Wales. And on the bus back from that, we just did similar to this, just talked about how everybody's feelings were. And then I think it was within like a couple of weeks, they used to sing a song when they would do an offertory to come up to the altar to accept Christ. And it was the song Just As I Am. And it just, for some reason, that one Sunday, it just hit. And it's like, and I got myself up out of the pew and I walked down. And, and I didn't have to do like any kind of classes or anything like that. It's just Pastor McInerney said, okay, when do you want to do this? And we had the, up behind the altar was a basin.
Mhm.
And, and then we just did that as the end part of a service on one, and it just, that was powerful enough that at that time, and it just, I had the acceptance, but I really didn't know what to do with it. I continued on with the girls' club until, of course, school and everything else got, and that I was probably about 11, maybe 12. They called the Age of Reckoning. And I walked into that, and it's just, I just kind of floated along, but I always felt, and it was something that Mom instilled into me, is that, treat others as you would like to be treated, and show your life and the way you live your life that you have this power that no one can take away from you. And as long as you have that, anytime anybody sees you, they see that power. And I've had it lately. I'll just be standing in line at Walmart and someone will turn around and says, "You're blessed." And I said, "I am." And it just exudes from you that, you can, that power is there now. And I said, and I tell them, last year I refreshed that power. And it's been with me ever since. And I could let things let me down, but key word is to be happy, and I'm happy. I could let the weight of everything bring me down, but I refuse to, because there's no reason to constantly try to berate myself and put myself at a level. I want to be happy. I want to be up here. I don't want to be down here. So whenever anything comes along, I just,
Well, that's why I
right
always
off my
say
shoulder.
Christians ought to be happy people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you
definitely.
convert to Christ, you can't help but be happy.
You can't help but be happy. Exactly so.
And it's a
And
process.
it shows.
I wondered about these two girls here. They were rebaptized in the Jordan River in Israel a couple weeks ago. What was that like?
That was awesome.
It was totally amazing. I still can see that. I can still feel that. It was awesome.
There was something else happening over there. We walked into the Sea of Galilee.
Oh.
and my feet felt different all day. It was just something really strange, and I don't know what it was. It was just, they were just different.
Like you could walk on water, huh?
Right.
In a comparable way, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In that I can do anything, you know, that change is, it's a blessing. It's just an absolute blessing.
Well, I was rebaptized in the Rainbow River.
Oh, were you?
Is that the same as the Jordan?
That's what she was.
what she was.
Yes, in the wheelchair.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
You're popular tonight.
I've been.
No wonder you need a new one.
No,
Yeah,
I
really,
didn't
now
go
it's
to the
busted.
outside, nothing. But I started out, my folks did not go to church when I was growing up. And then mother wanted me to be in church. So we started Sunday school at the Christian church, Protestant. And I got involved there. And then my first marriage was Catholic. So I took the catechism. And my senior kept saying, say something, and I would say, why? The church said so.
Mm.
And that wasn't enough answer for me. I used to bug him like crazy, but then I ended up teaching in parochial school.
Mm.
Then I've been Methodist, I've been Baptist, I've been Lutheran and Methodist, and now here I am.
Well, you need the light.
But to me,
Back around again.
my God is my God.
That's right.
Exactly.
It doesn't make a difference how I get there. I know where he is.
And
How
you-
many people have been excommunicated?
Ooh,
There's one here,
really? Were you really?
Lutheran,
You were excommunicated from the
from the
Lutheran church?
Lutheran church.
How could that be? Tell us
Why
that,
was that?
if you want.
Well,
He wouldn't
What
play.
did you
I
do?
wouldn't
Yeah,
go
or
to
golf
church.
score.
I didn't go to church enough.
Oh.
Just show up on whenever, and
The good
Sounds
they
days.
like
wanted
that.
it regular, and they wanted money.
Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
Baptists do.
And we
just
weren't
married,
rich, or even
Yeah.
anyway. Betty was Episcopal, and I was welcome in the Episcopal church, and I've been here ever since. But it was a shock. I didn't know that could happen.
I
My
didn't
mother
think
and
that
dad didn't
happened.
talk to me for a long time.
I didn't know that either.
The Reformed
But-
Church actually had an excommunication service in there forever.
Is that right?
We have
sad.
one. Do we have one? I hope not.
So what you're telling me in the preface here, it says the Christian life is a journey. And I think people forget that. That it really is. I mean, I say that the church is a laboratory. So everything that happens here is really part of your Christian journey, even the bumpy parts, you know? It's true for all of us, that this is where the gymnasium of Christianity, where we work it out. If we have an issue with somebody, this is the place to work it out. And that's the great mystery of the church, I think. But so the question here is at the bottom of that page, what then is our next step in the journey? So I wonder if anybody has any clarity about that for yourself. What is the next step in your Christian journey?
Getting to know Christ better, the New Testament. I found that even now with the Bible study, I'm getting to know things the seminary didn't teach me. And I'm like reflecting like I was doing on this, it just comes. And I'm like, wow, I didn't have that before, like wilderness. I had no concept of what that really, really was. It's our wilderness that Jesus was at. When we're sorry, when we're afflicted, we're in the wilderness. It doesn't have to be a desert. I always thought it was a desert. So learning little things about scripture that I didn't know, looking at a word that's not an English word anymore. I'm like, hey, I studied all this stuff. How come I didn't know that back then? The spalachnos thing, that is the guts coming out to the other person to be all over them. It's
Page
amazing.
11, the place to start is the realization that Christianity involves more than accepting Jesus as Savior and Lord, and certainly more than becoming a member of a church,
That's it.
you know? But at the same time, this is the place where it can be worked out, in the community, in Christian community. So, you're right on track then if you're continuing to grow and evolve and having more insights and deepening your faith. You're right on track. They also quote this guy, Urban Holmes. These are Episcopalians, so that's one of the things I like about this book. But he was a very famous guy when I was in seminary, Urban Holmes. And when I looked at his book, he was a priest. And when I looked at his book, it's just a different language, but he's saying the same thing. We have to begin with renewal, he says. And that's what Lent is about, hopefully for us. It's not the same old, that this is a period where you can renew your trust in God or your zeal for the church or your devotion to the Lord, your relationships with each other. This is a time when we're supposed to be renewed, and it's a great thing. I like that in the Jewish religion, I like the fact that they have these somber days of acknowledging your sin, and they take it so seriously. And yet we Episcopalians, you keep everything superficial. But if you really use this time to know that you can renew yourself, you can get to a different place. You can get through all these burdens that you have. Life is way too busy for everybody, for all of us, way too busy. And we're all overwhelmed with bills and stress and the world. Oh my God.
Like you said Sunday, God gives you what you can handle, and then he gets stronger then, and then he gives you more. And I wonder when that's going to quit.
It won't.
It won't, I know.
No.
Hopefully, but I mean, the point was, though, that, we all have feelings. Human beings have feelings, and they are not, we all think that that's the basis of everything, but it's not. Faith is the basis because feelings are always changing.
Yes.
We get mad, we get sad, we get resentful, but it's fluid. It's always changing. So you think that you can't handle it. This guy thinks he can't cope, but he's a very resourceful man.
Yeah.
And he's had an extraordinary history of ministry. And he's gifted. I mean, he does spend too much time on the golf course. But
I work on his hands.
I know you do.
Well, that's a good time to communicate
With
with God
other
is when you're
people,
when you're on the golf
I
course.
got my friend to the door here today. And I said, "You're welcome to come in." And he said, "Is your God the same God that I believe in?" I said, "Well, of course, there's only one." I said, "You're right, but I'm going home." So,
Yeah, he's the
Oh,
one.
this was your golf partner?
yeah,
Is this your friend that you came with the pancake
he
supper?
was here for the pancake supper.
Well, that's great.
But
I'm
just the
working
other
on
night,
it.
the pancake supper the other
Yeah.
night?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Did I meet him? I don't think I
You
did.
didn't meet him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But P.S., I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
That's another thing we've got to, if you're going to turn to Christ, then it can't be a selfish phenomenon. It's got to be shared, even like you say, just being who you are exudes something. And other people say, I want to be like that guy. I want to have that kind of happiness that she now has. And we've got to evangelize this place. Like this guy that you're talking about. He needs to be here.
Yeah.
And he would enrich us and we him. And so little by little, you're doing the right
He'll
thing.
get here.
I know.
I'll get him here.
I know. But we all have to do that with our friends and family. That's an easy place to start. I was waiting for her sister to come through the door the other day.
Well, no,
You
she
know.
won't. But I have something to tell you about my sister. Donna's sermon 2 weeks ago. On my way home, I phoned her and she wanted to go to Walmart. So I was on my way home driving. I got thinking, how am I going to make her happy? She's very, very sad. They've been with me for 4 weeks, and it's she rarely smiles. She's a very beautiful girl, but she rarely smiles. Not happy. She does things to me. She says things to me that are nasty. I don't think she really means, I don't know, she's just hurting, and so, so Donna had said that about smiling, and so when we got in the car, when I picked her up, got her in the car, and so I started telling her about Donna's talk. And I said, so I'm going to Walmart today, and everyone I get eye contact with, I'm going to smile. And she just sat there, and after a while she said, that's a really good idea. I'm going to do the same thing.
Wow.
It was totally awesome to see her happy, that smiling
Wow.
face.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, it
Wow.
was beautiful. And she ran into, just before we left, we were in the checkout. I was already through and I was waiting for her. And she went to come out. She had her cart, and this gentleman, a little black man, and oh, you go first. And he says, no, you go. So they got talking back and forth. It was both of them smiling and thanked her, and it was
good.
totally awesome.
Might be a turning point for her, Billy.
Yes, it was.
That's a wonderful sharing, and that shows you the power too.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Your
told
effort.
Donna already.
It is
Yeah.
smile. I mean, it is.
You have gifts, and look at that though. Without knowing it, you influence somebody else.
Especially, I think she really needed something like that.
That's a fabulous story.
Back when I took my training at Walmart, which was Yukon years ago, they have the 10-foot rule. And you're supposed to smile as an employee to a customer. And you'd be surprised how often that works.
And it helps. Sometimes you need that smile, like
Right,
somebody smiling
right.
at you. Yeah.
And you can start a conversation, or they'll ask you a question, or just say good morning.
Yeah.
But they will smile. Very few won't.
Yeah. And so a few days later, I was alone. I stopped at Regions, and there was a gentleman getting cash out of the ATM machine. So I stood off to the side, and there was an older lady coming towards me. She was very slow. She had a cane. And as she came towards me, she said, well, good morning. I said, well, good morning to you. Remembering Donna, I had a big smile on my face. So she gets up next to me and she says, you are the sweetest thing.
See?
And I said, why, thank you.
Yeah.
But it didn't only affect her and I. The gentleman that was at the ATM machine turned around and he says, you guys just made my day.
Yes.
So, I mean, how
That's
nice.
where-
Something so infectious.
That's why you didn't like wearing the mask. They couldn't see your smile.
Yeah. So
Thank you for
Donna.
sharing that. That's magnificent. You were going to say
I
something?
was just gonna say, when we were in Israel, we went to that Wailing Wall. Of course, we were on the female side. The male side was really big, the female side was really small, but it was full of young women with, I assume it was Hebrew, but was that the Turan or
No, that's the.
just the first
Torah?
few?
Torah.
Torah.
Torah, that's what
yeah.
but it wasn't very big. The books were really small, but it was all printed. But they were there praying and just going over it and over it. And there was like 100 of them just sitting there for the longest time, just praying and reading. And you could see them, their mouth moving, saying prayers. And that really was amazing to me, because I don't know that I've ever seen that anywhere here, where they were just really concentrating and very prayerful. And that really had a big impact on me.
Well, we're going to stop in a minute because I don't want to keep you more than 6 o'clock, but there's so much to share. But that reminds me of two things. One, about prayer. Bonnie Walter's father died a few days ago, and he's been in hospice. And I was told that her and her husband went to the room, and she leaned over and had her head on his arm and was praying out loud. And her husband put on one of Buccelli's wonderful religious music pieces, turned it on, and he died.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, the power of that. I mean, I said you keep that music for when it's my time, because I want to hear it too. And the other thing is, when we went to the convention a couple weeks ago, I saw some people from St. Mary's, where I used to be. And I don't know why. I always assume everybody stays the same age. That I don't see you for a few years, but you don't change at all. So when I see somebody who's changed, it's like, oh my God. And the fellow who was a deacon there and his wife, they're both deacons, he's really aged. And it was like, oh my. So I came over to talk to them, and they're lovely people. And they moved to a different church. And I said, I chit-chatted, and then I got up to leave, and I said, well, I want you to pray for me. And I turned to leave, and she said, sit down. So I sat down, and these 3 people were there. And they laid hands on me, and they prayed for me. And it was an electrifying experience. And when they were done, a lady whom I don't know, and she doesn't know a thing about me, she said, you know, I think the Red Sea is going to part for you. It's like, wow. So, you know, the power of prayer and the power of conversion. The bottom line is, if you're like me, we all need to convert to Christ. Everything we do here is about Jesus Christ. All the worship, all the fun things we do, all the fundraising, it's all about responding to Jesus Christ. And then, as we're going to learn in a few weeks, that's about church and that's about mission. But we have to start with a personal, like Billy Graham would say, a very personal relationship, which is what you obviously have. And obviously your mother had a personal relationship with Jesus. And that can lead to all kinds of great things. So keep reading. We're going to go up to page 20 for next week. It's still all about converting to Jesus. I would encourage you to do a couple things. One, this week to pray for somebody else in this room, but don't tell them who it is. So this week, make somebody that you see in this room in the forefront of your prayers. And also to think about this whole thing about conversion, you know, and maybe bring in, think about somebody who's really converted from how they were to what they're, to something else, and share it with us next week. I mean, I can give you samples. For example, George Wallace. You know, here was a guy who was an adamant segregationist, and supposedly he had a conversion and he became a very different kind of person. So think about that. Either some famous person or somebody in your life who's had a complete turnaround. Maybe it's you, I don't know. And be prepared to share that. And anything that comes to your mind this week about conversion to Christ. And how can we, you and I, how can we do that more here? How can we help people here? Because people like his friend, without even knowing it, they yearn for it. Everybody does. Everybody yearns for a relationship to the divine. And everybody wants the divine in their lives, whether they're call themselves religious or not. So let's go around. Any last thoughts or comments or before we finish?
Sunday's gospel is about being born again.
Coming up.
Nicodemus. And how many people take that literally and not reality? Being born again each day. Each day.
And I think we can all be born again here. This church can be born again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it really can.
Because we're the church.
Absolutely.
It's not this building.
No, it's a building.
It's the people that are here.
That's correct.
That's what makes a church. If we don't get along together, we're in trouble.
Absolutely.
Take it down or we can build it up.
We closed 2 churches, Betty and I. We're in 2 churches that closed.
Really?
We started a church in Michigan and it fell. We had to close that. And then our home church, we had to close that before we moved here to Florida. I don't want to see it again.
Why don't you preach on Sunday?
I don't know. It's a terrible thing to go through. I mean, here you give your life to that place, and I mean, it's a place, but still, that's where you meet. That's where you meet other people, other Christians. We were just like families. We ended up only having 8 families. Well, pretty soon the kids are gone, and there's only 10 or 11 people.
Well, I
I
think we
don't
should go
wanna
to the
crunch.
laundromat on Sunday.
Exactly, that's where everyone is, isn't it?
Combine the laundromat and it's packed. Sunday
You know,
morning.
that ain't, that's the truth.
How many machines can we get in here? Connie?
Put some washers and
How about the
dryers.
Put them
spin
out of
cycle?
business.
We need a
Put
few.
them out of
You
business.
know, but that's not a bad, that kind of thinking, we're gonna start having meetings about strategizing for the future of this place. And get it, move away from any issues about now, but think about the future. And that's a brilliant idea.
We could put in some washers here in Pearsall and.
You really have to go where people are.
Of course,
I'm sorry.
that's
You
really a
can't-
great idea.
You can't expect them to come to
No.
you.
Right.
No.
You have to
Maybe
go to
they'll
where they
come
are.
They gotta be invited.
Exactly.
You can get them here
Mhm.
if you invite them. They see it
gotta
in
walk
you
with them.
You
and
have
they
to walk,
wanna,
you have to walk with them.
Walk with them.
Yeah.
You're right.
but
Okay.
they'll come if we can get them there. That's-
I
we
want you
have
to keep
offer
thinking
it.
that way. Miss Train, do you have anything you want to say? How do you feel right now?
Same.
The same? Is that good?
I'm here, that's good. I'm here, that's good.
Miss Barbie,
No, I'm good.
sir?
I'm happy.
Mm.
I'm seldom not happy.
Me too.
I realize that about you too.
Except that I found a photograph of you from last year, some kind of toilet brush or something you were gonna raise. You didn't like my sermons, you were gonna hold up a toilet brush.
It was a coffee
Put it
pot
in the
cleaning.
toilet.
Oh, is that what it is? I'm sorry. You see where my head goes?
No, we got one.
Toilet brush.
There was a garage sale out here and there's
She's-
right.
That's right.
She's the one that started us on our King's Cake.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And I think I got the first baby.
No, I did.
Oh, you got the first one?
Yes, I did.
Well, I got it a couple times. I know.
Oh, Train got it?
Train got
Start cooking now.
You know what happened to the baby?
It was.
The Seder.
The
Oh,
Seder.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
The Seder was very nice too. She
Yeah.
did the
Is that
Seder, she and Peg.
You gotta come this
We
year
got
because
that
the Jewish
coming
faith
up
is gonna do it
April
again.
I see that.
Connie, anything?
I'm good.
Brother Ray?
You know, my community wants to get out, you know,
Get out of here.
and they're encouraging us to wear more clothes that are distinctive. And it does work. I mean, I've been in Walmart, and because I was in clericals, they come up to you and they say, "Can you pray with me?"
Absolutely.
So,
No, I don't like to do it
no,
because of just that very reason, but it is powerful. I gave that illustration before. I was on the subway and going to church, and this woman came and sat down and she said, "My husband's beating me up and he really abuses me badly. Can I forgive him without forgetting?" I was like, "Oh my God, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. How am I going to answer this?" But it was a great moment with her.
And I was on a plane once going to a retreat, and a young man sat down next to me, and wound up he was going home because his father was dying. So we had a long talk that day.
Well, you're a very powerful guy, and we're blessed to have you here.
Yeah. That's,
And we're gonna have you do more and more and more. We're gonna have you preach all the time. And we're gonna feed you.
I never went on, well, first of all, I would have to get permission from my community, but I never wanted to go on to become a deacon because I'd have to preach at least once a month. I don't want to do that.
But we could also feed you salads regularly.
Oh, no. Too many people don't know what happens to me when I eat salad.
I'm holding my tongue. Miss Jan, anything?
This church here, I mean, I know Ken is a bad boy and he's paying for it. But overall, we have a lot of religious, spiritual talks at home. He's much deeper than what is showing now. And, but this group of people has just been wonderful.
Well, you're stuck with us now.
Yep.
You're stuck with us.
That's one question he'll ask me every Sunday night. What'd you do in church? What'd they say in church today?
We miss him.
Yeah, we do. In the next, over the next couple weeks, I'm gonna go see him, so you and I will talk more about it.
He would love people to come.
Yeah, I don't want him to know, I'm just gonna surprise him. How about you?
This past week, my phone died. And then everybody tried to work on it, even the professionals, and didn't. And so I went and used had my card put on his little flip phone, which I don't like. And I rejected Ken's call 3 times. So I had to go Friday and explain to him why my phone kept hanging up. So to explain to him why I rejected his phone calls.
And what Dottie wants to give you a name, by the way.
Oh, does she? Good, good.
Dottie Polk.
I don't know if it'll be too late, though. It's probably already in progress. But he's doing okay. And he's much more of a man than what he's showing right now.
Miss Liz?
I'm good.
I have to share something that happened this week. And I don't believe in coincidences at all. I was making a phone call to someone or sent a text to someone. And apparently I hit the wrong name on my phone. And I got the text back and saying, I know, Donna, you tried to call me, but I've been in the hospital and I will call you and talk to you when I get out or when I get home. It was from Bill's middle son that I have not heard from since Bill died 7 years ago. I wrote back and I said, that would be wonderful that we could have some time together and talk. That was not a coincidence. And it just has moved me so much that I just feel that I need to reach out even more to people that I don't know, that haven't been around me. And I think this is what Lent is all about. Lent is reaching. Like I said that Sunday, when I grew up, everything was you give up something. You give up chocolate. You give up this.
Yeah.
I think it's for getting something, for moving, for growing in some way. Is how I look at it. And I really think that's where I am at this point anyway.
Thank you. Mr. Ray?
You got a minute? My goal this Lent is to get more people into the Bible study. It's not the normal Bible study. It's partially on video. I do a meditation now, and that's part coming from what we do in the Bible study, which we're reading the gospel and then looking at the nuances in our lives. What does it mean? How do we do this? It's like today's insight was prayer starts at 9 o'clock, service follows. Think about it.
Nicely said.
Yeah. It's going to go on the marquee one of these days.
I like that.
I like that too.
But I have to say, the organist on Sunday for the first time, it irks me that everybody talks and talks and talks louder, kibitzes. And I thought maybe it's because they don't want to hear the music. But on Sunday with this new man, everybody was dead silent, meditating, and it was wonderful.
It was a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
It really was.
Yeah. So that's good.
Well, music speaks. You
Indeed.
don't need words, just music.
And it goes straight to your heart and soul, cuts
Yeah,
through.
the melodies he was playing, and it was very soft. It
when
was
there was-
organ music. It was very calming, I thought.
Well, didn't somebody say when you sing or use music, you're talking twice to God?
Yep,
Twice?
I've heard that.
That's nice.
Not the
Can you
way I
say that
sing.
again? I didn't quite hear it.
You don't care.
When
You
you're
really don't.
singing
If
or
you mean it, you don't.
it's
Or
like talking
music.
twice to God. The prayer is stronger, the feeling is more.
The thing that moved me most in my lifetime towards God was when we went to the Million Man March. And I'll tell you, that square was full of men. on our knees, praying and singing. And I'll tell you, we could have shook that building right down off the ground. It really, there's other Christians out there just like we are, the same problems, the same fighting, the same whatever they're handling. But music seemed to bring us all together, and just,
I agree.
you had to be happy with what happened that day.
Anybody else on this row want to say anything?
I'm happy. I feel very, very good most of the time, other than sight headache.
Happy enough to have an anniversary, a honeymoon?
Oh, yeah. Not 60 years yet.
Oh,
I got some.
that was a very good.
It's on tape. It's on tape.
Put it on the calendar.
There you go.
Yes, make sure you put it on the calendar.
Okay.
Well, thank you. This feels like a very nice beginning.
Very nice.
And I really thank you for the level of sharing. This is so important to do. This feels more like church than church sometimes. So I'm going to ask Jerry to close the meeting with prayer.
Heavenly Father, we just come before you to praise you and thank you again for this building that houses all these wonderful people. I thank you, Father, that my family has grown here. They are caring for me and I care for them. We thank you especially for the sacrifice of your son, Jesus, who loved us so much that he lifted up his arms and died that we might live, that we could be with him in heaven. And Father, you've adopted us as your children. So we're very precious to you. And I know that you will hold us in your hand and keep us safe as we travel tonight. So in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jerry.
Same time next week.
Very nice.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.